Good afternoon, my name is Jim Conlan and welcome to the latest episode of our entertainment show. As you know, each week we have a premiere where we preview an upcoming movie or TV series that is debuting in Ireland and the UK. And each week we dedicate a special segment of our show to look at that upcoming sort of premiere. And this week up for discussion, after a hugely successful season one, which is the all-star cast headlined by the one and only Brianna Howley, who plays the role of Ginny Miller. The Ginny and Georgie is back for season 2 on channel Netflix UK, and I'm joined by one of the stars of the show. You might remember if you've seen her from a few episodes in season 1. She plays the character Ellen Baker, the one and only Jennifer Robertson. And Jennifer, are you sort of twinkling on high hooks and anticipations, all fingers crossed? Are you like a giddy little schoolgirl waiting for season 2 to make its debut here across the pond in Ireland and UK, and to see the reaction of all the Ginny and Georgie fans at this side of the pond, as the saying goes?
I am. We're all very excited. It's not just the debut in Ireland, it's the debut everywhere. It's worldwide. So worldwide, the whole world, it starts January the 5th. So it hasn't gone on for anyone. We're all just going to drop it on the whole world on January 5th.
And I suppose for many of our viewers and listeners who haven't seen season 1 already, you might enlighten us about Ginny and Georgia. It's a relationship, a mother sort of daughter relationship. It's sort of quirky, is in terms of the mother has, dare I say, she's multiple personalities or multiple backgrounds in terms of her character as well. How would you sort of describe that sort of mother-daughter relationship that we see?
I would say the mother-daughter relationship on Ginny and Georgia is very complicated due to Georgia's past that you alluded to. She has a very complicated past. She's had many husbands. Some of them have met ill fates that we are kind of unraveling as we go through the show. And her daughter is now 15 and is sort of aware of the flaws of her mother. But they love each other. It's very, mother-daughters are complicated on a good day, let alone when your mother may or may not have murdered someone.
And I suppose, Jennifer, there's two sides to this story. There's two different angles. We see Ginny living out her life in terms of the school, in terms of relationships, studies, boyfriends, all of that. And then we see the mother with, dare I say, the more out of normal sort of storylines in terms of money laundering, in terms of being on the run, in terms of did she or didn't she commit these despicable, heinous sort of crimes and sort of such stuff. There's a sort of two sort of running themes running through each episode.
Yeah, definitely. And then they all kind of converge in certain episodes, the worlds of the sort of George's world and Ginny's world and how those two connect, and the friendships on either side. So I play her best friend. I play George's best friend. She's never really had a best friend. And my character's never had a friend so interesting, because I'm sort of a, sweet suburban mom. So I think she's delightful. And so it's very much about relationships, this show. The relationship that Ginny starts having with my son, which the parents are not aware of for quite a bit of the season. So it's a real wild ride. There's no dull episodes in Ginny and Georgia. There's no episode where nothing happens.
And dare I say, is Brianna Howley that sort of quirky type of character in real life?
Oh, Brianna is the most grounded, kind. She wouldn't kill a spider. I mean, she's definitely acting.
And I suppose in terms of that, Jennifer, how did the opportunity come about for you to get cast in Ginny and George? Was it a regular sort of talent agent sort of shoot in terms of a gig, in terms of trying out audition sort of process, or were you sort of recommended by the role, or did it come to you by chance?
I was a month shy of finishing the final season of Schitt's Creek. And so I knew that my schedule was opening up and my availability was opening up, and my agent showed me the script, and the pilot script was just so fun and funny, and I felt comfortable in that character. So then I auditioned, and here we are.
Here we are indeed. And I
Yeah.
suppose, Jennifer, in terms of your own character now, Ellen, in terms of season 2, you mentioned she plays that sort of psychic, that sort of friend to Brianna Howley, but not being Brianna Howley's character, Ginny Miller, but not being aware of sort of Georgia's goings on in the background. Does she sort of become more suspicious in terms of what type of a character she's friends with in terms of season 2, in terms of does more sort of secrets come out? Does she sort of unravel more about Georgia's past, that she's not all that seems to be under the cover, as the saying goes?
I mean, there's not a whole lot I can spoil about season 2. I mean, we finished season 1 with the two of us not speaking. So we are not friends in the beginning of season 2. And just not because of Georgia's life, but because Georgia knew about my son sneaking into her daughter's bedroom and didn't share that with me. So my character doesn't know a whole lot at the end of season 1 about Georgia's past. So that's about all I can tell you.
We wait and see in terms of season 2 with Tinder hooks. And I suppose, Jennifer, in terms of shooting season 2, was it a long production? I know you were shooting there in the Loft Studios in Toronto, Ontario. And in terms of that, was for the season 2, I suppose after coming off a successful season 1, was season 2 a quicker sort of shoot for you, or was it longer again?
I think it's all around the same length. I think each season is its own ecosystem. And so it isn't necessarily faster shooting. If, you know, the sets all have to be rebuilt and recreated. We were shooting in some pretty heavy, like high numbers of COVID. So it was kind of an intense shoot, and we were testing every day and quarantining. And basically the only time we saw each other's faces was when the cameras were rolling. So it was kind of, for a lot of us, it was kind of a lonely season, and it was cold in Toronto. And so you couldn't go meet up in a park and sit and chat. So you can almost see the delight in some of our scenes of just being able to like be with each other and see each other's faces, as opposed to off camera where we were masked and shielded and all of those things. So it was an intense season to shoot, but I think it's the fans are not going to be disappointed. It's a pretty
Jennifer,
great season.
And Jennifer, in terms of the sort of cast as well, I mean, dare I say, there's 2 generations. There's yourself and Brianna, and then there's that younger generation of Antonio, Chelsea, Kate, the younger sort of girls. Is there good interaction between young and old in terms of the cast, in terms of that, or does almost feel that there's that bit of age gap? Are you able to relate to each other at all times in between sort of takes and shoots?
Absolutely. It is a wonderful cast. We all get along so well. I nicknamed myself the Yoda of the cast because I'm sort of the oldest of the cast. Brianne's only 35 and I'm 51. So I'm the elder of the group, but everyone gets along so well. That's what made it so hard. I think shooting this season was we weren't really able to spend time together. And I love the actors who play my children, Sarah Waysglass and Felix Mallard, are just the nicest, the best people. Everyone on this cast, we're so lucky, is so delightful. So it makes that 5.5 month shoot really fun, really easy.
And you mentioned coming off a sitcom like Schitt's Creek in terms of playing with the one and only the American Pie actor. I mean, his surname is not coming to my name.
Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara.
Eugene O'Levy, yeah. Coming off a successful TV series with Eugene Levy, were you sort of conscious about going into another one straight again? Did the project have to be right for you in terms of the fit? Because obviously these, once you get involved in a season in terms of series, it can run for multiple seasons, multiple years. So you have to be fairly sort of sure that you're onto a sort of winner before you sign up. So were you sort of scouting around for a while before you sort of said that this was the one for you? Had you turned down previous roles before you accepted the role in Ginny and Georgia?
I mean, I was looking at other roles, but you never know. This is the thing about showbiz, is obviously, you know, if you connect to a project, but besides connecting to a project, you don't really know if it's going to be successful or not successful. And there are lots of great pilots and lots of great shows that never get made, even though they're wonderful. So there is this element of luck that kind of comes into play also that you don't really control. But I just love the pilot so much for Ginny and Georgia. It was such a strong pilot, and obviously very different. It's 1 hour, it's drama. I was coming from half hour comedy, and I think part of the reason why I chose it, I wanted to try something that was in a little different format for me, try something new.
Try something new. And obviously, so many hit shows are being based in Canada at the moment, in terms of Vancouver, certainly a hub in terms of successful sort of TV, sort of series. And more recently, sitcoms. It was always really the home of sci-fi, dare I say, in the past. But now sort of sitcoms is coming to Ontario, Canada. And this is another successful sort of sitcom. Have we seen a sort of change in that sort of industry? Or the sort of, because it was always really, Vancouver, as far as I remember, was always renowned for sci-fi. It was always the home of sci-fi.
It definitely was. There's so much sci-fi being shot here. Yeah, now I think we currently have, oh gosh, Animal Control, I think, from a Fox is shooting here. So we are starting to get, I think, a little more variation across the country about one region doesn't have to just be one thing anymore. And obviously it's helpful if you do sci-fi, you know, you've got incredible makeup and special effects people who live there. But I think the world now is you travel to where your job is. And there's so much, you know, so many actors, you live in LA, but so few things shoot in LA. So I think people are moving out of those epicenters and just going to the job, wherever the job may be.
And one thing I noticed about Ginny and Georgia, watching the trailer for season 2 as well, in terms of all the madness, the quirkiness, the storylines, there's some real sort of tender moments in terms of simple moments where it's just a mother-daughter lying on a bed, chatting to each other and cuddling and sort of wrapping up in terms of that we're there for it's us against the world sort of vibe as well. So it doesn't have to be the all explosive sort of quirkiness. Even sometimes the more intimate moments can have the as much appeal as well to the audience.
Yeah, I think that's what makes the show work for people, and what makes people connect to the show is that these characters are also very real, and you need those moments. You can't have a whole episode that's just like, oh, with the G-force pulling your face back. You have to, part of the investment in these characters is their relationships, and that they do care about each other. That's what I was saying about this mother-daughter relationship, is that it's complicated, but they love each other. And relationships in life are complicated. So I think that really shows in the work that the writers do on the show, is that they have these tender, connected moments.
And how would you describe your own character, Ellen Baker, if you met her coming down the street against you in terms of a person? What sort of characteristics does she have, or qualities?
I think she's incredibly friendly and optimistic and looking for fun. I'd love to have Ellen as a neighbor.
As I suppose the way you're talking, there's many Ellens next door to you there at present, I imagine. And I suppose, Jennifer Robertson, before we start to wrap up now in terms of the previewing and premiering Ginny and Georgia, you might enlighten all your audience why they should tune in en masse on January the 5th for the debut of Ginny and Georgia on Netflix UK. Over to you, the one and only Jennifer Robertson.
You should absolutely tune in January 5th. I mean, book some time off of work if you can, or just snuggle in a bed, and you're going to want to watch the whole season in the first weekend, because every episode is going to reveal another piece of information about these characters, and you'll laugh, you'll cry, and it's a wild ride. You don't want to miss it.
On that note, indeed, if it's anything to go by, season 1, season 2 is going to be very successful indeed, and hopefully, please God, many more seasons to come. Jennifer Robertson, thanks for sharing your time with us today. You play the character Ellen Baker in Ginny and Georgia. We're undoubtedly waiting with eager anticipation. Season 2 premiere, once again, Ginny and Georgia on channel Netflix UK here in Ireland on January the 5th. Jennifer Robertson, stay safe, take care, God bless.
Thank you.